Sandy, to me, was a teacher. He was the only teacher to me. I mean, and with all due respect to everybody else.
And Meisner came into, excuse me, Sandy, Mr. Meisner, God. He was not my father. He was nobody's father. He was your teacher. He was your mentor. He had standards, and you better cut it, or you weren't back. But that was the reality of the world that you were preparing yourself for. And anybody who left the neighborhood playhouse left prepared to go to work the next day.
Especially my generation in the 60s, he was a man who actually knew something. One of the first authentic people that I and most of us had ever met in our lives. And of course he was autocratic about those things he believed in because he knew them to be the truth. And we knew we were being exposed to the truth, that is, to something which was absolutely practicable, and which absolutely worked, and which we wanted desperately to learn.
Isn't it marvelous? He's a man who has had a laryngectomy and he's gone through the tortures of the damned physically, and the spirit is indomitable, and that comes through very clearly. I mean, I loved it that she was still apprehensive about, you know, I said, would you dare be late for a class? She said, oh, never.
In the first class that we had, Sandy asked, what do you think is the craft of acting? What is acting? And it was the first class, the first day, and some poor schmuck raised his hand and started telling everything he learned in college about acting, and went on and on and on. And Sandy listened for a few minutes, and he finally went, shut up, you talk too much. And with a twinkle in his eye. I mean, he wasn't, but his point was made, you know, that it wasn't a school for sort of working from here. And he said, the seed to the craft of acting is the reality of doing. It's the first thing he ever taught us. And from there, I was on a roller coaster of 2 years of his method.
What do you do when you teach acting, Sandy? I mean, is it possible to talk about? What does an acting teacher do? What are you teaching?
When I first began to teach, I taught with that kind of semi-intellectual manipulation which one sees at its worst in the colleges, you see. And rules, intellectual theories, yes. You know. You can talk about how to play a part, but until it finds its living roots in you, it's in your head.
It's what? It's in your head.
In
yes.
your head.
It's in your head, yes.
And I am against the head.
Yes.
See?
You have warm eyes.
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 That's enough of that. It's an exercise designed to eliminate all intellectuality from the actor's instrument and to make him a spontaneous responder to where he is, what's happening to him, what's being done to him.
In the beginning, there's an enormous amount of work and time devoted to getting rid of all kinds of prejudices about what acting really is, so that the initial work is a sort of a process of getting the actor to really pay attention to the other person. Isn't that correct?
Your hair is shiny.
Right.
Your hair is shiny.
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 No. you're making reading in order to create variety. You follow?
Yeah.
Don't.
Okay.
Do it again from another object.
That process went on for a considerable length of time until we were truly able to surrender all the sort of theatricalized behavior that we'd all practiced, you know, in summer stock or whatever it was that our varying backgrounds had provided for us.
Often he said acting is like playing the violin. He says it takes you 20 years. Well, he used to say it takes 20 years to be an actor. And somebody said, well, why? Why does it take 20 years? He said, because for the first 20 years, you have to think about it all the time. And finally, like playing the violin, you don't have to think anymore where you put your fingers on the bow. You know, I mean, on the strings there. You just know where.
He said, it's going to take you 20 years to become an actor. And I thought, how dare he? I played Lilium in college. I'm an actor already. And it isn't until the 20 years elapses that you realize what he's saying and why he's saying it.
Well, aren't you supposed to be an actor now, darling?
Well, the 20 years have gone by. But what I'm saying is, what Meisner was able to do diagnostically is what's so brilliant about him. He takes you down to a certain level and then slowly with these exercises builds you up to a confidence so that you are a craftsman.
One nice thing about dealing with people from the Playhouse is that they've been trained viscerally, ineluctably, to put their attention on something other than themselves, so that it's a lot easier to work with them. When you have to cut through the various layers of self-consciousness, which come down to protectiveness, most actors, being badly trained, are terrified of being foolish, of looking foolish, of doing something which is out of their control. I mean, but you have to if you're going to be any good.
Hey, answer me.
Hey, answer you.
Yeah, answer me.
Hey, answer you?
Yeah, answer me. Is that a stupid question?
Is that a stupid question?
A stupid remark?
A stupid remark?
Yeah, is that a stupid remark? You're looking at me like I'm stupid.
You are stupid.
No, I'm not stupid.
You're not stupid?
No, I'm not stupid.
You're not stupid.
No, I'm not.
You're not stupid.
No, I'm not. Would you just blank out?
I always try to feel in my acting that I want to boil things down to behavior. I think it's the beginning and the end of acting for me is behavior. And I think the way Sandy wanted people to improvise to set it up for them to learn how to do that was to talk, listen, talk just like we're doing now, not knowing what's coming next, and just taking from the moment.
Are you stumped?
Yeah, I'm stumped.
You're stumped.
Yeah, I'm stumped.
You're stumped.
What, I have to tell you something?
What, do you have to tell me something?
Yeah, I have to tell you something?
What, do you have to tell me something?
He gave us a certain kind of basic way to do an improvisation, which was based on a repeat exercise, which is his foundation exercise. And finally came down to not doing anything unless one had to do it. So that in the work, when something happens, it happens because it has to happen, not because someone wants to make it happen, because a director wants to make it happen, or an actor thinks they want to manipulate, but because it's set up so that it has to occur.
So that you have your own world, which finally becomes a cocoon. I found it very safe. I guess that's a terrible way to talk about acting, but it's the only way it appeals to me. I don't really like being in front of an audience. And to know my world, what I am, who I am, was a cocoon. It was my protection. And Sandy supplied that.
I say, don't act. Don't fake. Don't pretend. And don't anticipate that she's gonna knock at the door. Now that will train your concentration, your active faith, and it may be your emotion. Then you can say you're learning how to act. that I can say I'm teaching you. Now, let's have it.
What Sandy did is begin to examine the fact that dialogue is the last thing that happens anytime between two people. It's all supported by behavior and attitudes. You say something, you mean a certain thing to me when I see you because of whatever relationship we may have. You say something, I hear it. Depending on the state I'm in when I come into the room, it means something to me. It produces a reaction in me emotionally. And the last thing that happens is I respond with dialogue in some way.
You better snap out of this beach club lightheadedness of yours, because we've run up against something desperately serious, you and I.
You read the text. You have to make the music. And the music is emotional.
For God's sakes, Jock, you've got to see this plane.
The only thing that means anything to him, it's like an obsession.
You're wrong. You're fantastically wrong.
Oh, yeah? Why does he take on so about you getting married? You ever think maybe he wants to marry himself?
Just shut up!
Hey, gladly.
Very good. A simple reality. That is the kind of reality which you get just from allowing your instincts to play truthfully for you. You follow? It was very good. But it didn't go any further than that. Now, what I mean by that, I have yet to show you. It needs a certain emotional deepening. You follow?
I think the thing that made Sandy a good teacher, first of all, is his own disciplines as an actor. He loves acting himself personally, loves the taste of it, you know, just the taste of acting, putting together a role. If you see his work, it's layered and it has a wonderful concentration and a deftness, and he loves the art of things.
Sit back, ma'am. I have no desire to frighten you. Is it not a fact, Mrs. Brown?
It seems as if he's improvising. It seems as if this strange creature just came to life that moment before the film, before the camera, and is living out this intense existence. And that is exactly what he wanted acting to be and what he tried to get us to do.
Did you not continue seeing Mr. Ellis after you turned down his proposals?
Yes.
And he, on his side, kept seeing you?
Yes. I kept seeing him as a friend.
Oh, you kept seeing him once or twice a week as a friend?
Yes.
Did Ellis and your husband ever meet before that night?
No.
You thought you could keep them apart? They would never meet?
Yes.
Yet you unlocked the back door that night and let Ellis in.
Yeah, but I asked him not to come.
You don't want him there?
No.
You don't want him in your home. You know it's dynamite.
Well, he was there.
Did you have to unlock the door?
I think that Sandy really did want to be an actor, and I think that the delicacy of his feelings were not reflected in the way he looked. I mean, I think that Sandy's quality as an actor was an extremely poetic quality, but what was he going to be cast as? And I think that personally, I think that injured him, and I think that he, to a degree, turned his back on acting, and there are many of us that have to be extremely grateful that this happened.
For years, many of Sandy's former students thought that his work ought to be recorded, that his teaching should be videotaped. I got involved in the project. I was asked to do it because I'd spent so much time as Sandy's assistant, and I'd been privy to 8 years of very constant and intense work with him.
We got to a place in the method that's called emotional preparation, which is your way of becoming emotional for a scene. If you have to cry or if you have to laugh or whatever you have to feel, or for a scene, it's a way of preparing for that. And when that happened, suddenly I had the bull by the horns, because I had for years been, you know, my mother was always opening the bathroom door, and I would be in there sobbing my guts out. And she said, well, what's the matter with you? And I was embarrassed to tell her that I was acting by myself in the bathroom, that it was just, I had gone into these kind of fantasies that would make me cry or laugh or whatever. And they all thought I was a little bonkers, but suddenly what had been crazy in Arkansas made sense in New York at the neighborhood playhouse.
Now stay that way and begin.
You gotta give me a few more months to try to get in the play.
Oh, so it'll be 2 years and 7 months that you've tried.
No, Barbara, it's all I ask.
Then will you promise?
Yeah.
Well, let's go to bed then. We're both kind of tired.
That's the scene. The scene.
All right, all the film cameras go into the second positions that we ended up on Friday. Remember those positions? Here, simply. The ladder is not out. If I have any kind of technique at all as a film director, which is a long way from acting for the theater in Meisner's classes, it's all based on what I learned from Sandy. It's all based on those concepts.
There's a spine to it that you got to find, and then you'll find the moments. Don't work on the moments. Okay. It's too early to work on the moments. What is the intention of the speech? The intention of the speech is, I'll tell you something about the world. I'll tell you how sad and tragic it is.
What Sandy taught you so clearly is that the basic thing about character is how you do what you do. You know, it's not so much what you do, but how you do it. And what you begin to see is that there are thousands of ways of doing the text. And what is required is a point of view, a real sense of who you are and what you are doing.
Could you talk a little bit about the relationship between an action and an emotion? I mean, a lot of what we've been doing is, for instance,
Stand up. Show a little respect. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Did you do what I told you to?
Yes.
Did it do something to you?
Yes.
That's the difference between doing something and what it induces in you emotionally. Acting is doing, and meaningful acting is doing under emotional circumstances. You understand?
Imaginary or emotional? I mean, I've always heard imaginary circumstances. Now I'm hearing emotional.
It's all imaginary. It's all imaginary. You think Hamlet is real? You follow?
Yeah.
The secret of the stars, gravitation. The secret of the earth, layers of rock. The secret of the soil, to receive seed. The secret of the seed, the germ. The secret of man, the sower. The secret of woman, the soil. My secret, under a mound that you shall never find.
The worst possible thing that I can say to you to be made interesting. And in order to do that, it means, in its simplest way, to find a way of doing it. Right?
Yeah.
Now, if you were teasing me, you know, and say, you know where I live? It's a building. And it's red brick. But I'll never tell you what my phone number is. Play with me. Tell me, you know, play with me.
The secret of the stars, gravitation.
Get my suspense. I'll try to think it out with you. The secret
of the stars, gravitation. The secret of the earth, layers of rock.
Francis.
Yes.
Wait, because what I do.
Ah.
You forgot that.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
I will that too.
Okay. The secret of the stars. Gravitation. The secret of the earth. Layers of rock. The secret of the soil. To receive seed. The secret of the seed. The germ. The secret of man. The sower. The secret of woman. The soil. My secret? Under a mound that you shall never find.
Now, let's examine what we did. Is because it was more interesting. You know?
Yeah.
What made it more interesting?
Everything.
No, specifically.
Having a specific intention, a teasing, an attitude made it more.
A way of doing it.
A way of doing it, yeah.
Right.
Right.
Be specific. It's all over the neighborhood playhouse, on the walls. You see, wasn't that the difference, Francis, between what you and I did?
Absolutely. In fact, if you have felt the experience of the specific emotion, and then you try to do something and you haven't got it, you really do feel so empty. You just don't know quite what is wrong, but there's something not there. It's a terribly depressing kind of nothing. And you keep wondering what's the matter. But as soon as you did, I didn't know what to do with that little piece that I did. And as soon as you gave me that specific, it was so easy, relatively.
Easy.
Yeah. Easy and fun. It doesn't seem to matter even whether what you're called upon to do is supposed to be harsh or sad or depressing or whatever. When you know what you're doing acting-wise, it's then fun.
You know something? Acting, it's fun. Don't let that get around.
He made you want to act. He made you enjoy acting. And I think when you're young, you're looking for people to look up to. And you run into a lot of people that make you the other way. And not excited. Not cynical. It's all nonsense. There's too much pretend. There's too much nonsense, pretension.
I think of all the people that I directed, I think his were the best taught in a way that I like best. They were both sensitive inside, and they were free as far as their external behavior went. And they weren't, sometimes you got actors that been taught the so-called method, which is a term I hate. But they were as if they were playing scenes with themselves. But with Sandy, they had this inner life, but they were not inhibited externally.
They have a certain kind of energy where what they're doing seems to be being done with a kind of, it's like the energy is contained and it's harnessed and it's specifically pointed onto what the moment is.
And 10 hours later hand it back. You're telling me he has to be watched? He has to be nursed and guarded and coddled, but not by me.
It ain't nothing you don't learn that later on in life you might need it. And when that day comes, well, you can thank your lucky star that your good friend Boone helped you.
What he wanted from you was truthful acting. And he was able to communicate. And the proof of that is the number of people that have come out of there over a 40-year period who've gone on to become people who set standards of acting themselves and changed a great deal about American acting.
He is the bringer of the sunshine and rain. He is the force.
There's no way to get him out of your mind. You know? Whenever I work on a scene, I find that he wanders through my unconscious and often into my conscious mind. You know, I think of things he's taught me, ways that I might get into the scene, ways I might understand it better. He sets a tone. It's constant, his presence in my life as a standard bearer.
Sandy wants to give, but I don't find there's a show-offy thing that I find in so many other teachers. Look, I'll show you how much I know about acting and how dumb you are, and what a wizard I am. I never felt that about Sandy. I felt that he was truly interested in the progress and helping an actor find his way of getting to a part. And if it deviated from Sandy's a little bit, that was all right, too. As long as the actor made some progress towards allowing his talent to function.
Sandy set you free like a good parent. He'd say, go out in the world and do it. It's tough out there.
Even my job at the law school, I can honestly say I earned.
But a teacher! 2 years ago when I married you, you were going to do such wonders with the law as had never been heard of. You had the most beautiful violence about it.
Also, I had some money then.
You're a strange case, Francis Battle.
Good, I like it. First of all, I'll tell you. You're all young. Actors. Sometimes the material is beyond you. Sometimes I see it was quite within your scope. Most of it was. See, and when that happens, you execute it quite well. See, it's when the emotional problems are deeper than you're yet prepared to realize behavior-wise. That's when you, in a way, are deficient. See, but that's not important. No, because time will fix that. It's very easy to give advice. So, I'm going to tell you something that's impossible. Keep working all the time. See, do all kinds of plays, whether they're right for you or not right for you, because eventually time and you will catch up with each other. You follow? And your basis, which is solid, hold on to that. I'll see you one of these days.